So I started doing this yesterday towards the end of practice, or halfway through practice. I actually threw with 3 fingers. A different feeling, not necessarily completely entirely different. Between Wes and also I'd look at how much he pulled on the hammer in his throwing career and some of the blisters and stuff like that on his hand, even through a glove. My logically thinking here, I think that you would want to mitigate any more welts, just the amount of calluses that you get between weightlifting and throwing as much as you can. And hey, maybe the whole 3-finger thing isn't that bad. It doesn't feel so off to me that it's impossible for me to do. It does feel a little different, but I'm pretty cheap and I don't want to buy more tape than I need to. So if just from a quantitative standpoint, if I only have to tape 3 fingers and I can save myself taping up one more, well, I'm going to save myself some money on tape. The cheap man in me. But at the end of the day, it doesn't feel horrible. It feels weird because sometimes I'm like, I'm about to drop this thing and I'm going to kill somebody, but that hasn't happened yet. So we will forge on with this little experiment that we have going on here. Not entirely the worst idea. I know some people have done it. My biggest thing that I do throughout the hammer throw is that I start to turn this handle. And I notice this during this practice sometimes. When I get the velocity going on the hammer, I start to, I'll do this slight turn of the hammer handle. And I almost think that I'm doing that to allow myself to make sure that I'm not pulling on the hammer, but I don't exactly know what the reason is, to be exact, if I'm being 100% honest with you. And I can sort of notice the difference, that some of those throws sometimes they feel better. They feel like it's a natural thing that I'm doing and not something that I'm just trying to do myself. So I couldn't tell you 100% about that one, but throughout this practice, I kept on thinking to myself, oh, I need to take more reps, or do I not need to take more reps, or do I need to take my time and less reps? And I really can't make a decision on that. I could take less reps and try to be as effective as possible with the reps that I'm taking, or I could take more and not have the quality there. So I'm really at a loss because at the end of the day, I only have so much time out here. And then also I have to go to the weight room. So with all that being considered, I don't have an answer to that question, but I was definitely watching the clock. I wish that I go back to when I wasn't thinking about time and the other things that I got to do, taking that into consideration. I should really sit here and kind of think and chill out. And I will not think about other things and just chill out. But my brain does what my brain does. I can't really help it. Now can I? So, and that's part of the process, is that I do realize that. So I know that you have to spend more time out here than you do in the weight room if you want to be good at this, instead of more time in the weight room. But they do counterly affect each other positively. There is a positive correlation towards the two things. So they can counteract one another too as well, because your legs are tired or you're just physically tired. And you try to go throw and then you can't go throw like you want to. And that's just something that you got to take into consideration too as well. I'm really starting to realize that sometimes I get antsy and I want to come in hot on this 4-turn entry. And what I really need to do is think slowly as possible for these first 2 turns. I think that that's going to help me a lot in honing in the technique. And then as I can add more speed to it, I can add more speed to the entry or whatever. But the best feeling throws were the ones where on 1 and 2, it was very, very methodical and I was very, very patient. And I wasn't trying to rush on the finish with the 3 and 4. So that's something I'm going to have to definitely keep in mind. I think that's more of my throwing style. And I notice, and I brought this up before, I really have started to notice people that start to decelerate. It almost looks like they're decelerating, but they're not accelerating anymore is the problem. they're not accelerating anymore. And I think you get yourself into a little bit of trouble there. I think that if you're not accelerating the ball all the way through the finish, well, what are we actually doing here? That's sort of the point. You sort of keep the same versus you keeping the same acceleration from the beginning of the throw all the way to the end, and you just hold it all the way to the end. I think it's been done both ways technically, but I'm starting to realize that, hey, maybe just throw your throw, and you'll probably be able to add more speed as you go, but you need to be able to get through every single turn as succinct, as completely as possible. And that's going to take you taking a slower pace and a slower intensity. I know towards the end here, I mean, whether it was with the 6K or the 15 pounder, I start to want to let the reins off a little bit here and there. I start to want to let the reins off, and when I do, it doesn't necessarily produce the best results. So it's always keeping yourself in check, watching your intensity, not going as fast as you can all the time, because it's not conducive to anything at the end of the day. So it's a process. But that's just about all I got. You already know what the deal is. Run on your toes, keep your mouth closed, lock your doors, save your throws, most importantly. Live to fight another day. I'm going to get out of here.